I remember when things were good, like when things were really bloody good. Tony would sort of stand on the boardroom table. I can still see him, silhouetted against the skyline. He'd get up there, he'd whip his belt off, trousers. He'd start swinging it around like a leather whip, and he'd shout, "This is the time, this is the place. I'm a tornado, lick my face."
He was such a sweet, well-behaved boy.
Never knew what he meant. But we were both injecting a lot of drugs at the time. Not all of them legal. You've got to remember, he was a big man, Tony. Almost unnecessarily big. Big head, big hands, big ideas, bigamist. Probably, I don't know, just putting it out there.
As I say in my biography, HarperCollins £16.95 hardback, not many people can say they've wrestled a bear, walked on the moon, and invented a cure for cancer. But that was Tony. He'd say those things. None of them was true, but he said them.
When I met Tony, the first thing he said was, "Have you ever seen a man wearing pajamas made of gold?" I shook my head, and he said, "Meet me at my house," raced off on a speedboat. Of course, I had no idea where he lived, so we didn't see one another again for 6 months, and that was our wedding day.
He was a winner. He was a fighter. He was a whirlwind. Which means, metaphorically. He never actually fought anyone.
When I was in labour with our eldest, he turned up at the hospital wearing his gold pyjamas, cut the umbilical cord with his teeth, and said, "Okay, honey, Venice needs me," leapt out of the window into his helicopter, and he was in a gondola by lunchtime.
In the world of business, he leaves a hole, like the hole in the middle of a donut, if you like. It's a hole that might never be filled. You don't fill the hole in the middle of a donut. No one wants to look at that. There's supposed to be a hole there. What are you doing? It's not a donut if you fill in the hole. Leave it alone. Stop it.
Were there people who wanted him dead? Yeah. Were there people who wanted him alive? Yeah. Were there people who wanted him castrated? I don't think so. Were there people who wanted him wrapped in some sort of high-quality ham and packed onto a roller coaster? There was one, yeah. But we still don't know what that was about.
Oh, he used to love playing with his baby brother. They used to play contracts. It was very sweet, really. He'd bring in documents for him to sign. They were just blank bits of paper, of course. Or they were when Morris signed them. Then Anthony used to take them away and fill them in. And then they'd play enforcement.
It was always clear to me that Mummy and Daddy had a favourite. I mean, they called me Morris Milch. But I remember the house was always filled with laughter. That was a recording that Tony had made, and he used to play it every time he said anything. Creepy doesn't do it justice.
It was his second playtime at the school, I think, and he divided the playground into 2 groups, the legends and the losers. And I remember one boy came up to me, was very upset because Tony had told him he was a loser and that he could only use the drinking fountain if he paid him a small fee. So I kept Tony behind after school and I said, "No, this can't continue." And he fixed me with that stare of his and said, "Classic loser." And that was that. And so for the next 2 years, I had to pay him £6.50 every time I wanted to use the drinking fountain.
First term at Wickhamstead, he set up a rival tuck shop, undercutting the one in the cloisters. It was run by, I think, the widow, one of the old groundskeepers. Like, she could not compete with Tony, so that was that. Bye-bye Audrey. After that, he started jacking up the prices and pricing up the jacks. Like, he made playing jacks pretty much unaffordable. Crafty old bastard. So old, he was about 11 at this point.
By the time I joined the school, he had a child driving him around everywhere in a miniature car with a personalised number plate, Mr. Sugar 001, then a $sign after that. We said, "Why have you got a $sign? We're in Surrey." But I think he knew that even then, business would take him across the pond.
I mean, he was a prick. You know when you know that someone's going to grow up to be the kind of ass who wears pink shirts with white collars. Huge boy he was. He insisted we call him Mr. Sugar. Even the teachers. Doubly insulting, of course, because we already had a member of staff called Mr. Sugar. Exceptionally short man, very frail. He had to go, and he couldn't. It was too much for him. So I tried to expel Tony on more than one occasion, but he was... By that point, he'd become too powerful.
By the time we left the school, I think he owned... Well, the science block was his. I think he turned it into flats.
On the last day, every boy walks up and collects a certificate, goodbye, bravo. I usually shake them by the hand and I say, well done, good luck. When it came to Tony's turn, before I could say it, he said it to me. Well done, good luck. I mean, what a prick.
We smoked some ganja that night on the roof of a Greek Orthodox church, and I remember I turned to Tony and I said, "You hungry?" And he said, "Hungry? I'm going to eat the world and go back for pudding." I didn't hear the last bit because I crashed through the tiles and into the narthex. We should not have been up there. That place was an absolute dump.
It was a Portuguese A-level project.
Soup everywhere. Couldn't see a thing.
And I was only wearing a sort of loose towel.